Hello, this video is called Selling for Beginners. So if you are brand new to sales, I'm going to give you some of the fundamentals that you're going to need when you're starting out on your journey when it comes to selling. Now, if you're already an experienced salesperson, that doesn't mean that this video isn't for you. Hopefully there are things in this that are sometimes forgettable, sometimes things that we miss. These are the foundations of selling. So there are so many advanced techniques that you're going to need along the way. But if you think about selling and you think about like building a house, think of this video as the foundation, so that by the end of the video you're going to walk away, you're going to have a good position and a good understanding of what it takes to be good at selling. So I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips. Oh, that was easy to say. And I've been thinking deep and hard about these, and I want to give you 10 actionable takeaways that are going to make you good at sales if you're starting out or if you're an expert. So tip number one is probably the reason that most people fail at sales, and probably the reason that most people won't get to the end of this video. It's because they lack the foresight when it comes to gratification. So everybody wants everything now. Uber Eats, TikTok, Tinder, a lot of T's today. Instant gratification. I want the world, I want the whole world. I want to wrap it all up in my pocket. It's my bar of chocolate, give it to me now. Famous song from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So people struggle when it comes to gratification. They forget to delay it and they struggle with that. When you're working in sales, remember, what you put in now, you probably won't receive the benefits of for 90 days. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. Some sales cycles are 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 years long. Baffles me, but that is the way of the world sometimes. So what you're putting in now, the conversations that you're starting to have, the people that you're starting to meet, and all of those different things, what you put in now might not come to anything for a long, long time. Now, if you're working in sales, you have to remember, put the work in and eventually you'll get in what you put out. If you don't put the work in, well then it's never going to amount to anything. So one of my favourite things to talk about is, when was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When was the second best time? Now. If you're thinking about future you and tomorrow you, and they're going to be working in sales, what is tomorrow you going to be grateful for? Is it the meeting that you booked? Is it the conversation you've had? Is it the prospecting? What is future you going to be grateful for? What you put in now is what you're going to get out. I also like to think of something that I've termed the power of a year. So imagine a year, 365 days, you set yourself that goal. If you put in the effort every single day for a year, imagine where you would be in a year's time. Imagine fast forward 365 days, 366 if it's a leap year. Fast forward, where are you going to be? Your life is going to be dramatically different. Think about the small things that you can do every single day that are going to compound and move you in the right direction. So tip number 2, it's your relationship with rejection and validation, okay? So if you're going to get into selling and you're going to have a very good career in selling, one of the things that you're going to have to do is make peace with your inner child. So every single day when you go to work, you're going to be taking your inner child into the office with you, and that inner child is going to determine how you react to certain situations, your own human biases, what triggers you. We've got to be aware of our own triggers and the way that we respond. So many people, sales is a roller coaster of ups and downs, and so many people struggle because they don't know how to deal with rejection and they ride on the validation. The best salespeople I've ever worked with are the people that can be steady throughout. When they win, they're grateful and they're happy, and when they lose, they're grateful, but they know it's part of the job. It's like you can't ride the highs and you can't ride the lows too much, because that relationship with validation and rejection will ultimately kill you when it comes to selling, and it will have a massive detriment on your career and your personality. So if you have people-pleasing tendencies or different biases or different trigger points, think about what they are. I always think when it comes to self-development, it starts with self-awareness, and then it's a level of self-compassion. So acknowledge who you are, the reason why you are the way you are, an amalgamation of everything that's happened throughout childhood, your trauma, how you deal with winning, how you deal with losing. Understand all of that, and then understand, who do I want to be? I want to be indifferent, I want to be stoic, and then learn how to move forward with that. Number 3, now this is where so many salespeople go wrong? And I'm going to give it to you straight up for free. They sell the solution, not the problem. Let me say that one more time. They sell the solution and not the problem. When selling, whatever it is you're selling, you are solving a problem. So what problem are you solving? They don't care about your award, your case studies, your features, your benefits, or you. What they care about is themselves, their world, their problems, and how you can help solve their problems. That is all they care about. So when it comes to selling, I'm going to say it one more time for the people at the back, sell the problem and not the solution. Think about it like if you went into an Apple store and you were going to buy an iPhone, and the guy come up to you in the Apple store and said, okay, what do you use your iPhone for? And you was like, well, I'm a content creator, I use TikTok, I take loads of photos, blah, blah, blah. They're gonna show you how you take photos, how you can create media, how using an iPhone is gonna be like your own little kind of content creation platform. They're not gonna start talking about the hardware and the wiring and all those different things. So talk about the problem that you can solve for these people and not just the solution. Number 4. Now this is usually something that if you work in a sales organization, your sales team and your manager is going to help you with, but I've seen it in so many different organizations they don't. But know who your audience is, okay? You can't sell to everybody, okay? And it's so much easier to sell to people that want to be sold to, as stupid as that might sound, than people that don't want to be sold to. So know who your audience. So if we know what the problem is that you solve, who are the people that have that problem, okay? So don't think of it as like people putting their hands in the air saying, I want a CRM. Who are the people banging their head against their wall saying, I have that problem and I need to solve that problem? Where are they and what is the problem that they have? Okay, so you have to think really, really deep about the problems that you solve and where you can find those people. So going back to the CRM explanation there, so when we think of it, nobody puts a hand in the air and says, I want a CRM. They say, I'm disorganized, I don't know who I should be contacting, and everything's messy at the moment and it's giving me a headache. Okay, that is the problem that you solve with a CRM. So don't sell the solution. I think some people say like, sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Ooh, I like that. But where are these people? What problems do they have? And how can you help them solve those problems? So one of my favorite analogies is I've got a cassette player in my car. The cassette player is broken, okay? But does that mean I need a new car? No, it's absolutely fine. So just because you have a problem doesn't mean that you're motivated to solve that problem. So what is the problem and what is the impact of that problem? Only if people are motivated will they change. So help people find out what the problem is and what the motivation to solve that problem is. Number 5, so everybody, and I mean most people, think that they are good listeners, okay? If you speak to anybody, they'll be like, I'm a great listener. I'm so good at listening. I've got so many narcissistic people that I've met in my life that are good listeners, but literally talk all about themselves. If you want to be good at sales, you have got to be a good listener, okay? We've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So it is your job to say, I'm going to actively listen. I'm actually going to be present in this conversation. And when I'm listening, I'm picking up on body language. I'm picking up on non-verbal cues. I'm picking up everything. So, you know, sometimes you walk into a room and you can just sense that something's gone off. You're picking up to what people aren't saying as well as what they are saying. Their tone, their pace. Once you can learn to read people and truly listen to people, you're going to get a lot better at sales. Don't tell me you're a good listener. Show me that you're a good listener. You wouldn't walk up to someone in a bar and be like, hi, what's your name? And then they tell you their name and you say, shut up, I don't care about you. I'm going to tell you all about me and expect that to work. So think about how you can actively listen to people and actually care about them and their world. So number 6. So this is where so many salespeople go wrong, and I've seen so many bendy-armed salespeople talk on YouTube and LinkedIn and things like that. But you cannot persuade somebody to do something that they don't want to do, okay? If you persuade someone to do something that they don't want to do, that isn't selling, that is manipulation, okay? So your job, you've got to work out, do you want to be good at selling which is the point of getting people to feel influenced and make change because of the way that you've made them feel and made them come to a conclusion and help them solve a problem? Or do you just want to manipulate people to get money in the bank, okay? I was going to say there's nothing wrong with manipulating people, but there massively is. Don't manipulate people. It's stupid, it's not nice, be ethical. So you can't persuade somebody to do something that they don't want to do. People don't like change, okay? And we could go into all different human biases and talk about change, but let's think about persuading people. You can only get someone to a place of deep thought where they can persuade and convince themselves. And how do we do that? By great questions. Asking bloody good questions, not questions like, what is the impact of that? Like asking people, how do you know that's a problem? And asking for examples. We've got something called the heuristic bias. So the more examples we can think of a problem, the more likely it actually exists. So, okay, can you give me an example of that? What does that look like in your world? And what happens if nothing changes? And when people start to talk and start to explain, oh, well, this happens, and then I don't get to see my family, or we might lose all the money, or we might lose the business. That's when they start to think and go, actually, I need to do something about this, okay? So can you ask good questions that get people to a place of deep thought to acknowledge that they've got a problem and they're motivated to fix that? I've realised that I'm very handsy throughout this video. There's a lot of hands going on, so sorry if I'm putting you off with my hands. Number 7, pick a system and stick to it, okay? So I've got systems that I prefer, and I could talk about them all day, and I could even slag off the other systems that I don't like, but pick a system and stick to it. If you're doing different things on every different call or meeting, then that's where you're probably going wrong, because you can't improve and you can't look back and focus on what you've done and how you can improve moving forward. So whether it be Sandler, whether it be Medic, whether it be spin selling, whether it be Bant, whatever it may be, pick a system, stick to it and look at it, and then when you move forward you can assess where things have gone wrong. Look upstream. What could I have done differently to improve that? What have I done wrong along the way? Typically, it's something that the salesperson said or something that they didn't say. Okay, they're the two lanes that you're either on a call and you've said something that you shouldn't have said, or you didn't say something that you should have said. Okay, so pick something and stick to it and improve on it. We use a methodology from different places. We've chosen different bits of methodology, but a lot of our methodology is based on Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, so we take a therapeutic approach. Can we get somebody to admit that they have a problem? And after that, can we find the motivation that they want to change? So in the same way that you would with Alcoholics Anonymous, think of it as selling is like therapists. A therapist wouldn't invite you into their office and say, here's my degree, this is what I've done, these are all the patients I've cured. They would sit you down on the chaise longue and say, why are you here? Tell me what we're trying to do, okay? You can only help people to a certain level that are wanting to be changed. People say to me sometimes, what is the objection handle when people say, I don't want to talk, I'm not interested? Well, you can push back, but if they say it again and they don't want to talk and they're not interested, you can't convince or persuade people and you can't change their mind. Remember, selling is getting people to deep thought where they want to make change. You're not a hypnotist. Number 8. Don't be afraid to fail and don't be afraid to lose, okay? That is selling. You cannot win 100% of the time. Like, that is fact. Like, you have to fail, you have to be rejected, and you have to have it handed to you once in a while, okay? You're always going to make mistakes. It's like anything in life, you get better by doing, okay? But when dealing with people, like dogs, they can smell fear. So if you've got an attachment to the outcome, as the Buddhists say, that is where you are going to fail, and that is going to be kind of the reason that you aren't successful. If you are attached to whether you win, then you're going to go into calls, you're going to go into meetings, and you're going to have that attachment that you feel so strongly that you have to win and you have to close the deal, and then all of a sudden you're going to fail, because that's going to be playing on your mind. You're not going to ask the right questions. You're going to be focused purely on the end result, and if you're focused on that, then you're not going to have the right success. The best salespeople I've met are just consistent. They are very relaxed. They don't care about whether they win or lose. They reverse engineer everything. They think about the numbers. They know that if they sit down with X amount of people and they do the system through from start to the end, then they're going to find people that want to buy, okay? So you can't go into it where I need to close this deal, because I promise you, if you go into that, then you're going to start performing like a lunatic and you're going to sound like a nutter, and you're going to start doing things you wouldn't normally do. So remove any attachment to the outcome when it comes to selling. Number 9, I think this one is so important, yet so many salespeople forget it, right? Don't let people speak to you like you're a piece of shit. And I know that sounds crazy, but like, you wouldn't let your friends speak to you a certain way. You wouldn't let your family speak to you a certain way. Yet for some reason, when people go into sales calls, they let people talk to them as if they're not a human being, okay? They put their prospects on this pedestal because they're CEOs, or they've got X amount of money, or they've done well in their business, and they just want to get their money and get the deal across the line. So they'll put up with rubbish, okay? You're a human being. And I think, like, in the long run as well, like, if it's your own business, it's a lot easier. So I won't work with someone that's a diva, because I think you're going to be a nightmare down the line. Whereas so many people think, oh, well, I'll get the deal over the line, then I'll pass it on to customer service. It's just going to have a knock-on effect to everything. So if people are absolute divas, or they're horrible, or they're awful to you, you don't want to work with them. So don't put your pedestals on. So don't put your prospects on a pedestal. Like, I'm not saying you have to work with people that you like, but if people are genuinely rude and awful to you, you don't need to take that just because you work in sales. For some reason, people think it because we work in sales, it's normal just to let people speak to us however we want, okay? So what are you in control of? What are you not in control of? And what can you actually keep a hold of? So you can control your yeses, you can control your nos. Don't take your maybes, don't take your runarounds, don't let people string you along. It's not a sin to get a no, but it's a sin to take a long time to get a no. So if somebody messes you around for a year and then says no, well, that's probably your own fault. So remember, don't deal with rude people. And number 10, so I think this one's really, really important, but salespeople are always focused on new business all the time. The selling doesn't end when the deal's over the line, when the money's in the bank. You're always selling, okay? So I always think, like, how can you make sales ethical? How can you focus on actually helping people so much, like going above and beyond and things like that? And the more people you help, the more that they're going to refer you, the more they're going to introduce you, they're going to be part of your network and things like that. If you are good at prospecting and you are good at selling and you do it right, eventually in the future there will be a point where you don't need to sit there from 9 to 5 every single day cold calling and dialing, because eventually you'll get to a point where you built up a referral system and you will just be inundated with people that want to work with you because you are who you say you are and you can help solve genuine problems. So I think, like, don't missell people. Do the right things in sales. Don't try and manipulate people. Don't try and get things across the line. Don't discount just for the sake of it. Like, if you focus purely on the person, the problem, and how you can help them. Remember, sales is, I think, a Greek word for, like, to serve, to help, to solve problems. Like, if you think about it like that, and you genuinely care about people, you will have an incredible career in sales. So that was some of the fundamentals. They were some of the things that, for beginners, I think we forget, and I wish I could go back to 16-year-old me that was working in sales for the first time. I thought selling was just about having the gift of the gab. I thought selling was about building rapport. I thought selling was about getting it across the line. I thought selling was just about making friends. It's not. It's about genuinely understanding somebody's problem and their motivation to solve that. And I hope that this video has been helpful either way. And even if you take one of those foundations away and you think, actually, that's something that I'm an experienced salesperson and I'm going to use this moving forward, then I hope it's been helpful.